Shawshank Redemption is an American film that was directed by Frank Darabont based on a Stephen King novel, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. It depicts the story of Andy Dufresne, a young banker who is accused of murdering his wife and her lover, and life sentenced in Shawshank Penitentiary. The main theme of the movie, Shawshank Redemption, is hope and identity. The topic is explored through the perspectives of different characters, showing to viewers that hope can be both a driving force and a source of endless disappointment. The essay will focus about how hope is depicted and conceived with three different characters in the movie: Red, Andy, and Brooks. To Red, who has already spent half of his life behind the bars of Shawshank Penitentiary, hope always gave him failure and frustration. Red considers hope as a dangerous thing that can drive people insane. He thinks having hope is meaningless inside prison, and when Andy tells Red that he wants to get out of prison one day and open a boat shop in Mexico, Red says to Andy that it is an unachievable dream. Red had relied on hope before until it always betrayed him by not letting him not to pass the parole admission. To Wendy, on the other hand, hope and identity were something that kept him stay focused and not to give up. With his consistency to not lose himself and his identity, he earned the trust of the warden by laundering his money, and he is able to be free from the prisoners who are raping him. This hope, and he has not given up on, led to the great escape that everyone thought was impossible. Another important character in the movie is Brooks. He has served 30 years in the prison, and he wanted to spend the rest of his life in Shawshank. Brooks took care of their library with Andy, and he snugged in the products for the inmates, and he was quite satisfied with what he is doing in the prison. It was clear that what he had to do, and he was a resource that was needed inside the prison. When he was decided to leave the prison on parole, that meant the end of the significance of his life. After spending 30 years inside the prison, he was too old and weak to start a new chapter of his life, and the society has changed so drastically that he was not able to adapt to it. Red also went out of prison on parole, just like Brooks did. They were somehow very similar that they both spent a long time in prison and was a respected person in prison, but not out in the society. They were both working in the supermarket where they were not welcomed, but unlike Brooks who gave up on his life, Red, who had the least amount of hope, decides to keep his promise that he had made with Andy. The mise-en-scène of the movie is very simple yet sophisticated. Both artificial lights and natural lights are used when the prisoners are inside the prison and when they are spending time outside the prison. They are mostly dressed in their prisoner uniform. To show the difference of a class between the prisoners and the guards, the prisoners usually look from below, while the guards and the warden looks from the upper angle. This is an efficient way that can show the two classes that are obviously contrasted. The long takes on the eye level of the prison and prisoners in the beginning tells the audience that the setting of this movie will be prison. A unique cinematography that implies hope can be found in several scenes. The first one is Red's parole. On the first two paroles, when Red did not have any hope, the scene is quite dark. On the third parole, when Red got his parole, the scene is brighter than the previous paroles. On the scene when Red and Andy is talking about hope, the shadow is on Red's side, making it look like Andy, who has not given up on hope, is on the bright side, and Red, who is pessimistic about hope, is on the dark side. The Mist is another film that was directed by Frank Darabont. The Mist is a horror film that talks about the reality that happens when humans are suddenly put into an extreme situation. People are suddenly trapped inside a supermarket while there are mysterious beasts wandering around the street. The Mist well depicted the greed and true personality that humans show when they have experience that they have never had before. Another movie that has similar concept with Shawshank Redemption is Birdman. Birdman is a film by Alejandro Iñárritu that was released in 2014. This movie also deals about the concept of hope and identity. The film Birdman is about a movie actor, Regan Thompson, who used to be famous. He is no longer famous nor popular. His superhero movie Birdman was a big hit until the third one. Regan is now preparing his own play on Broadway, but it is not going how he wants to be. Regan has hope to be a successful playwright and not to be judged by his former role as a superhero Birdman and his identity collapses between his past as a famous actor and his present as a playwright who is trying to redeem his fame and reputation. Shawshank Redemption and Birdman both depicted hope and identity in the movie, but they used different filming techniques. The struggle and hardships that Regan goes through is taken by a long shot in the movie Birdman. The director and the actors put a lot of effort into this movie by combining several long take scenes and turn it into a single take movie. To overcome the hardships that lighting gives for a long take scene, the director had to hide out the physical lights while maintaining the angle of the camera. Moreover, the actor and the staffs had to be out of the angle whenever they were taking a long take scene. Shawshank Redemption, on the other hand, was made by combining all the short shots that was taken separately. The Shawshank Redemption by Frank Darabont has lots of symbolic meanings inside the film. It talks about hope and the way people perceive it. Some people live hopeless by being denied and failing continuously, while some people never give up on their hope even if they have lost everything they had. It also talks about having one's identity. Andy didn't lose his own identity in the worst situation. Even when he was sent to jail for a crime that he has not done, and he was raped by other inmates, did not forget who he was and what he is capable of.